Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Bismillah. Wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawm ad-din wa ba'd. Okay, alhamdulillah, we are at week 13 of our book, the Ar-Risalah al-Jami'ah, which is translated as Essentials of Islam. And so last week, can you hear me, Sister Khadija? You froze up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You froze up for a second. Okay, now you're good. All right, so we said last week we were going to just kind of read to the text to the current section, and then we'll review a little bit from last week, and then we'll continue for this week. So in the interest of time, because we try to keep within an hour, inshallah. All right, so we'll start from chapter 1. So I have a request for anybody who wants to read. We read from the beginning.
I'll read.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me, or am I choppy?
No, you're clear.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Chapter 1. In the name of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful. Praise belongs to Allah, Lord of the worlds, a praise that matches his gifts and equals his increases. And may Allah send blessings upon our Master Muhammad and upon his family and his companions, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Messenger of Allah, upon whom be peace, said, seeking knowledge is an obligation for every Muslim, male and female. And he said, upon him be peace, whoever takes a path searching for knowledge, Allah will lead him along a path to the garden, al-Jannah. The topics discussed in this book have mainly been abridged from the books of Hujjat al-Islam al-Ghazali. It is our hope that whoever knows them and acts upon them will be placed by Allah among the people of true knowledge, outwardly and inwardly, and success is from Allah. The pillars of Islam. The pillars of Islam are 5: bearing witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam; doing the salat, giving the zakat, fasting Ramadan, making Hajj, pilgrimage to the house for whoever is able to. The above are to be done with sincerity and belief. Whoever is not sincere is a munafiq, or hypocrite, and whoever does not believe with his heart is a kafir. Faith, Iman. The reality of Iman is that you are convinced that Allah exists and that He, the Exalted, is one without partner, likeness, or similarities. Nothing is like Him, and He is the all-hearing and all-seeing. He created the heavens and the earth, death and life, obedience and disobedience, health and sickness, and the entire universe and what it contains. He created human beings and their actions and determined their provisions and their lifespans. There can be no increase or decrease in these appointed things. Nothing happens except by his decree, qada, that it will happen, and his determining, qadar, and his will, irada. He, the Exalted, is living and all-knowing. He wills and is able. He is speaker, hearer, and seer. He is knower of the treachery of the eye and what is hidden in the chests. He knows all secrets and that which is even more hidden. He is the creator of everything and is the one, the subduer. He, the Exalted, sent our Master Muhammad, his servant and messenger, to the whole of mankind, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for their guidance, so that they could perfect their lives and complete their return to him. He helped him with clear miracles. You must also be convinced that he, upon whom be peace and blessings, was truthful in every fact which he conveyed to us from Allah, whether concerning the traverse, the sirat, the balance, mizan, the pool, haud, and other matters of the next world, and the barzakh, including the questioning by the two angels and the punishment and bliss in the grave. The Quran and all the books that Allah sent down are true. The angels are true, the garden is true, the fire is true, and so is everything else about our Master Muhammad, upon him be peace, informed us. Chapter 2, Worship. Bismillah. Prayer, purity. The obligations, furud, of wudu are 6. Intentions, niyyah, washing the face. The limits of the face are lengthwise from the place of the normal hairline of the head to the jawbone, and in width from ear to ear. Washing both hands and arms up to and including the ankles. Wiping part of the skin of the head or the hair that covers it.
Wait a
Washing
minute.
the
You got ankles where your hands and arms are?
what I say?
You said ankles.
I did. Oh,
Yeah.
wiping. What I say? Hands. Oh, including the elbows. Did I say including the elbows?
No, you
What?
said ankles, but you just said, yeah, you just made it right.
Okay. Sheesh. Well, thank you. Man. Washing both hands and arms up to and including the elbows. Yeesh. Wiping part of the skin of the head or the hair that covers it. Washing the 2 feet up to and including the ankles. Performing the actions in this order. Okay. If one is in a state of janaba because of sexual intercourse or the emission of sexual fluid, mani, during sleep or otherwise, it is necessary to wash the whole body with the intention of removing janaba. The emission of anything from the 2 waist passages, front or back, nullifies the wudu. Wudu is also lost upon losing control of one's intellect during sleep or otherwise, unless one sleeps sitting down with one's seat firmly fixed on the ground. Touching the private parts from front or back of any human, whether oneself or someone else, and whether adult or child, with the palm of the hand or the inside of the fingers nullifies wudu, even if it be one's own child or a dead person. The touching of the skin of an adult male by an unrelated female and vice versa without any barrier nullifies the wudu. However, touching the nails, hair, or teeth do not nullify the wudu. The validity of salat is dependent upon the following: awareness of the entrance of time, either with certainty, yaqeen, or because of working it out, ijtihad, or an overwhelmingly strong supposition, ghalabat zan, because if you make salat with doubt, it is not a valid prayer. Awareness of the qibla, covering the aura with a permitted clean cloth, and the removal of impurity from the clothes, body, and place of prayer. And it is also necessary to pray the obligatory or fard salat standing up if one is able to do so. The salat, obligations of the salat. These are intentions, niyyah, entering the prayer by saying Allahu Akbar, Allah is most great, accompanied by the intentions. The reading of the Fatiha, beginning with the words Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The 14 points of stress, tashdidat, and not pronouncing a za instead of a tha. There is no tha sound in the Fatiha. And then bowing, ruku. In this, it is necessary to lean forward so as to be able to rest the hands on the knees. Then making the necessary pause, tutma'ina, so that all the limbs come to rest, and then returning to the upright position, i'tidal, where pausing for a few moments is also necessary. Then prostration, sajda, twice, and sitting between the 2 prostrations. Pausing is necessary in all of these. One must fulfill the above obligations in each rakat. The first tashahhud and the sitting during this part of the salat is sunnah. The second tashahhud and sitting during it are compulsory. The prayer on the Prophet upon him, his family and companions be peace and salutations after the tashahhud, but before the salam is a compulsion, as is the sending of salam. The minimum salam is assalamu alaikum. The minimum tashahhud that fulfills the compulsion is at-tahiyyatu lillah, salamun alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, salamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi salihin, ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wa anna muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. The minimum prayer on the Prophet, upon him be peace, is Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. One should do all the sunan. There are many. It is also required that one humbles oneself with total sincerity, ikhlas, making it an action solely for Allah alone. Concentration, hudur, is also required. Hudur is being aware of what one is saying and doing. Submissiveness, or khushu, is also required. Khushu is the stillness of the limbs, concentration of the heart, and pondering upon and the trying to understand what is being read. Allah accepts salat according to the amount of hudur. Showing off, riyah, which is acting for the sake of people in prayer, and at all other times is forbidden.
All right. Are there any questions thus far?
Ooh. I really don't know how to speak in Islam, so it's like hard, like translating the words written in Islam for me.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go over all this stuff. I mean, but is there any questions or something you don't understand besides the pronouncing the Arabic words?
No.
Okay, yeah, we'll go over that before we finish this book. You'll know all that stuff, inshallah. Okay.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good to see you.
Okay, we're gonna call that a shameless salam. You just interrupted the class, but alhamdulillah, we got like a shameless plug. That was a shameless salam. But you had a break, so good. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. How you doing, Sister Naila?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, good.
And you?
I'm great. Alhamdulillah. All right, let's continue.
Acts that invalidate the salat. Deliberately speaking invalidates the salat, even if it be only 2 letters, as does a large amount out of forgetfulness. A large amount of action also invalidates the salat. For example, 3 extra substantial movements: eating, drinking, exposing part of the aura without covering it immediately, and the appearance of najasa if it is not removed immediately without holding it. If a worshiper goes ahead of the imam by 2 integral elements, and likewise if he falls behind the imam by 2 integral elements without legitimate reason, his salat is also invalid. Prayer behind a non-believer, a woman or someone of mixed gender, is not valid. The Jumu'ah prayer. Friday midday prayer in congregation is an obligation for every Muslim who is male, free, resident in the locale, and not excused by a legal exemption such as sickness or rain. Among the conditions of Jumu'ah are the 2 sermons, al-Kutubatayn. I always say it wrong.
Kutubatan.
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 Kutubatayn.
Yeah, what it says, yeah. Khutbatain, excuse me. Khutbatain.
Khutbatain. The integral elements, arkan of the 2 sermons are hamd, sending greetings upon the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, calling people towards piety, taqwa, the reciting of at least 1 verse of Quran in one of the 2 sermons, and praying for the believers in the last one. It is necessary for the one delivering the 2 sermons to do so while standing in a state of tahara, with his aura covered. He must sit between the two sermons and should pause longer than normal for the pause. Longer than the normal pause for salat. There should be no interruption between the first and the second sermons, or the first and second sermons, or the second sermon and the prayer. Establishing the congregational prayer and the funeral prayer, janazah, are communal obligations. Fardu kifaya. The two Eids, the two eclipse prayers, and the witr prayers are all well-established sunan, as are the rawatib of salat. The duha and tarawih are sunan and bring great blessings and reward.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So that's where we stopped at last week. So just a quick review. Sister Naila and Sister Nishan, y'all wasn't here. So I'm just going to ask you to see where you at, and Sister Khadija, you can kind of you jump in. All right. So try not to look at your notes. All right. Let me just ask you a couple questions. All right. So we the Jumu'ah prayer. Is it an independent prayer or no?
No. You asked me.
Yeah. Well, you said no.
No.
Okay. What say you, Sister Khadija?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it an independent prayer?
It's independent because it's independent of Zohar, and if you miss Jumu'ah, you have to make Zohar prayer.
Mm-hmm. It takes the place of Salat al-Dhuhr on Friday.
Yes.
All right. So it's an independent prayer. All right. And if you miss it, totally. You know how some people, they come to Jumu'ah and they miss the Jumu'ah, they should pray Salat al-Dhuhr. All right.
Yep.
All right. Another thing. Okay, we said Friday. The best. When does Friday begin? When does Jumu'ah begin? Don't say Friday.
No, I was going to say the night before, but I don't know specific time.
No, that's it. Yeah. In Islam, the night. Yeah. The night precedes the day. So what we would say is Friday in the daytime, according to the solar calendar, is actually Thursday night. So Friday begins after Salatul Maghrib on Thursday. All right. All right. And we said Jumu'ah is an individual obligation for a free male resident man and the one who has no excuses, like traveling on the weather. And Jumu'ah is valid for women and slaves, but not an obligation. So women can come, it's valid, they get the same reward, but they are not obligated as like the those other categories that we mentioned. And then we talk about one who is exempt is like a traveler, people who are not baligh, have reached the age of maturity, who doesn't have their senses, and sickness. So what do we consider sickness? Can someone get a couple of sniffles and say they're not going to Jumu'ah?
No.
It has to be like a severe sickness that would prevent them from performing their duties. All right, so we said the khutbatain. All right, so it has to, the khutbatain. What are those two conditions for that?
I'm not even gonna say it.
It's just a review. See what
the khutbatain. The requirements are 3 males. The
requirements for people to attend Jumu'ah. We're talking about the khutbah itself.
Oh, you have to send salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have to recite at least a verse from the Quran. And I know it has to be in Arabic, like parts of it. You know, I have to make sure you have.
That's for the whole Jumu'ah. I'm talking about just the 2 khutbahs itself.
Oh, okay.
So specific. If you don't know, it's okay. There's no right or wrong. Just we're reviewing.
So you have to, in between the 2, you have to have the pause in between the 2. So you have to do the khutbah and then the pause in between and then the khutbah.
Well, I was actually looking at the 2 khutbahs have to be within the time of the Lord prayer. That's what I was looking for. So
Okay.
so they shouldn't be exceptionally long. And you know, some Jumu'ahs, I remember one imam said, he said, he said, I need at least an hour for Jumu'ah. He said that in the khutbah. I was like, oh my God, man, come on.
I've been in 2-hour khutbahs.
Yeah, some places they, you know, it's be an hour and a half minimum. SubhanAllah.
Yep.
So
And
then,
the final closing, and like 50 final closings.
yeah. So the condition that the khutbatain should be within the time of dua prayer. In Shafi school, the number of people attending is how many for it to be valid?
I heard 40, but I don't know if that's correct.
No, that is correct. In the Shafi school, I think in the Maliki school is 12. And then, and I'm not sure about the Hanafis, and I think that the Hanabila, they say at least 3 people, and all of them have proofs for them. So sometimes when we see these principles in the school, it's something that you adhere by, but sometimes they can't be adhered to strictly. You know, for instance, in the Shafi school, it says that one of the opinions is that you shouldn't have Jumu'ah until 40 people can congregate. So it might not have been a lot of black people in the Shafi school because you know, ninjas show up late. So you know, alhamdulillah, every week, you know, we get 40 or more at our masjid, but it don't start off. You know, start off like 5 brothers, and I'm like, oh man, what's going on? Some type of holiday or something, or something going on? They giving out PPP loans or something? What's going on?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But
So
but you would want to be early, because isn't it where the angels sit by the door before the first adhan and they record who's coming in?
yeah, there's a hadith about the people come at different hours and a reward. So the first one is like an egg, and then it end up like being like a calf. We'll go over some of the virtues of Jumu'ah. But remember, this book is really dealing with the basic essentials for each category. All right, so the khutbah should be at the minimum, you say alhamdulillah in both of the khutbahs, salawat on the Prophet sallallahu, and advising people towards taqwa, and saying a clear verse. When you say in a clear verse, meaning you just can't say something like qad sami Allah. You know, those are words of the Quran, but it's not a complete verse. All right, so or even if you use part of a verse, it should have a complete meaning. And then dua for the believers. So that's the minimum. So we said a validity of the khutbah is standing. You have to be in a wudu, covering the aura, sitting between the 2 khutbahs, and the length of the tutma'ina for the limbs to settle. And some say that, you know, the length of you be able to say subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, the length of that. And what's the term when everything should be one right after the other?
Order is no.
Tutma'ina is when the limbs rest. Order is tartib.
Tartib. Why do I keep forgetting that?
That's not the word I'm looking for.
Okay, what you
so
looking
tartib
for?
is the order, but in order, when you're doing something in order, it should be one right after the other in that tartib. What is that word I'm looking for? We mentioned it last week. If you don't remember, it's okay.
You did. I don't remember.
Okay, it's muwalla.
Muwalla. Okay.
It kind of mean like, you ever hear Arabs be like yalla, yalla, yalla. You ever hear Arabs? It means like hurry up, like quickly. Like let's, you know, so and muwalla means like in succession.
Okay.
All right, and then if you catch one rakat of Jumu'ah, then you complete the 2. But we mentioned this already. But if you miss both, you have to complete the Dhuhr prayer. I'm not sure how it is in the other schools. That is it in the Shafi school. So 2 sunnahs of Jumu'ah, he didn't really mention here, was performing ghusl, and for the congregation being silent, attentive, making tahiyyatul masjid, and so when we say the there's plenty of sunnahs of Jumu'ah. One we mentioned, like coming early, wearing your best, but one he mentioned specifically is performing ghusl. When should ghusl be performed?
after the one menaces and intercourse.
No, that's for like when you have to purify yourself. But we're just talking about for Jumu'ah. At what time? Because those times you have to make ghusl. Ghusl is an obligation. But now we're talking about the ghusl for Jumu'ah. What time should it be performed? Because ghusl is a sunnah. You don't have to make ghusl for Jumu'ah, but you should.
After Fajr?
After Fajr, yes, from Fajr time. Yeah. That's what I was looking for. The time is from Fajr. And for the congregation, they should be silent and attentive to the khutbah. And when they come in and the khutbah is starting, they should make the tahiyyat to masjid, the 2 rakats greeting the masjid. They should make it very quick. And there should be no other prayer going on besides the tahiyyat to masjid. Like, for instance, you can't come to Jumu'ah, make duha prayer, or you can't make any other kind of nawafil prayer during the khutbah. All right. And then there's a hadith about that too. The Prophet ﷺ said that when a person comes in the masjid, they should make 2 rakats before they sit down. All right. And so then we talked about the congregational prayer and the janazah prayer, the salat al-Jami'ah. What kind of fard are these? We have 2 kinds of fards.
Oh wait, say that. You said the say it again.
Congregational and the funeral prayer.
Oh, that's the fard kifaya.
Yes. What is fard kifaya?
That's the obligation on the community. It's a communal obligation.
Yeah. So if someone doesn't from the community undertake the task, then the whole community is responsible. So it's not like fard ayn. Each and every individual has to undertake the responsibility like a lot. So we mentioned a phrase last week, and we said a fard kifaya can become a fard ayn. What is the meaning of that?
You said it before. You said, so that, like we were saying about, I know you said another example, but the only I just remember, like, if there's nobody to do the janazah prayer and you're available, you have to. The washing and things like that for the body, you have to make yourself available for it.
Meaning, if you're the only one.
Yes. If
that
you're the
means
only,
it will become an obligation on you. For instance, of teaching Islam. If you're the only one in your area that's able to teach Islam and no one is there, which normally that would be a fard kifaya. If you're the only one that has the ability, it is upon you. That will be a fard ayn on you. Right. Or being the imam, or collecting the zakat, or some of those things. All right. So that's what we meant by that. A fard kifaya can become fard ayn, meaning that it can become an obligation for the one who has the ability and no one else is around to do it. Okay. What we got next, real quick? The congregational prayers, and as a group, as the sunnah. Some schools, I think the Hanbali schools, say that it's an obligation, and they have proofs for it. But in the Shafi school, it's something that's highly recommended. The janazah prayer. How many takbirs in the janazah prayer?
3.
3? Is there a difference? Huh?
Well, like that. You
3?
do the. Yes.
No.
It's not 3. It's only
4.
2. Oh,
4.
4. It is 4. You're right.
4 takbirs. Right. The first one is al-Fatiha.
Yes.
The second one in sending prayers on the Prophet ﷺ. The third one is the dua for the deceased. And then the fourth one is the salams. And in the fourth one, you can include like prayer for Allahumma kfir lana kabirina wa sagirina wa khudurina wa ghaibina. Like people, like you praying for our present, the absent, the olders, and the young, stuff like that. So, and in Shafi school, the Fatiha can be in any of the takbirs, but it preferably is in the first one. And the second, the prayer on the Prophet should be after the second one, and the dua for the deceased. So you could probably technically say 3, but the fourth takbir is, if you just say the salams, is good. but it should be another added prayer that we talked about. You can find that in the Hisnu Muslim, the fourth of the Muslim book. You guys have a copy of that?
No.
Okay, you all should get that. All right, a question. We talked about two Eids, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, and we asked the question, which one is the greater Eid?
Eid al-Adha, I believe. No.
Eid al-Adha, yes. Good. All right. We talked about, and of course, Eid al-Fitr is the completion of Ramadan. Eid al-Adha is the completion of the Hajj. Then we talked about the eclipse prayer. So we said the word Kusufan, Salat is called Salatu Kusufan, the two eclipses. What eclipses are we talking about?
The solar and the lunar eclipse.
Yes, when the moon is eclipsed and the sun is eclipsed. So there's a prayer that's done for that. And they'll pray like the soon as the Fajr, except that there's an added Qiyam and a Ruku. All right. And then it's recommended that a khutbah or small talk. So a khutbah just doesn't mean Jumu'ah. Khutbah means speech. So like a small talk and giving sadaqah is recommended. Then we talk about the witr prayer. So what's the minimum amount of rakats for witr and the maximum?
One is minimum?
In this school, in the Shafi school.
I don't know that.
Okay. Witr is what? What kind of number? Even or odd? So what would be the minimum?
3.
3. You can get away with 1 because it's an odd number technically, but it's really 3. Some scholars say that you shouldn't make a habit of doing 1, even though it's an odd number, because the most established proof is about 3 rakats. And then it's pray after Isha and before Fajr. So it could be from 3 rakats, and the maximum is 11 rakats. All right. And then there's some other things. Now, remember, we're just dealing with the basics in this book. So if we go in this book, in the curriculum, we're going to the details, like how witr should be prayed. Like, and you know, there's a hadith about witr is not like the Maghrib prayer, those kind of things. And then witr is recommended in congregation when?
Taraweeh?
Yeah, during Ramadan, in Taraweeh.
Gotcha.
And outside of Ramadan, it should be done alone. Okay, then we talked about the rawatib. What is the rawatib?
Oh, I mean, you did talk about it. I just didn't write it down. Because we were reviewing.
And you try to throw me under the bus. I'm the driver.
No, but
I'm not going under the bus.
But I just didn't. Both of you ladies hear me say we went over it. I just didn't write it down.
No, but y'all did hear her say she was going to make an attempt to throw me under the bus. But it's all good.
Never.
So the rawatib prayers are the sunnah prayers. What is the meaning of rawatib? It is those prayers that the Prophet ﷺ, he always did. He never missed them.
That's right. Yes.
All right. And what are they? The sunnahs. We talking about sunnah prayers.
Oh, those are the prayers before and after your fard prayers.
Yeah, but the rawatib are some specific ones, because there's 2 categories of rawatib. There's mu'akkada, the stress ones, and the ghayru mu'akkada, the non-stress ones. So rawatib are under those 2. The mu'akkada is the one he stressed and he always did. So I'll start you off. The 2 sunnahs before Fajr.
The 2 sunnahs before Fajr.
Okay, I guess I gave you 2 before Dhuhr, 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, and 2 after Isha. So those are the rawatib that are mu'akkada, that they were stressed, and that means that the Prophet ﷺ never left them off. So the 2 sunnah before Fajr, 2 before Dhuhr, 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, and 2 after Isha. And then the other category is called ghayru mu'akkada, non-stress. And that means sometimes the Prophet ﷺ would do them and sometimes he wouldn't. So here, another Gharu Mu'akkada is 2 before and after Dhuhr, including the ones that you already do as Mu'akkada. All right, so that would mean like 4 before Dhuhr and 4 after Dhuhr. All right, 4 before Asr. That's the Gharu Mu'akkada. He did it sometimes he did it. 2 after Maghrib, including the other 2 that are stressed, and then 2 before Isha. So those are Gharu Mu'akkada.
I need a PowerPoint for that one.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
All right. So that's it just for review. Okay. Any questions? Now, you all know the format of this book is basically going to be that we're going to go over it every week. And so we're going to read the text, go over it a little bit. So as we go on, the review it won't go as much. And then when we complete the text, then we're going to go through each section and identify all the stuff that we need to know. And then we'll do a test on each section. All right? So the goal of this book is, remember that once you complete it, that you'll be able to have a thorough understanding of this basic book and be able to teach it and be comfortable with teaching it. You know, because I know a lot of times we know the stuff. A lot of us, we just not comfortable with teaching, you know, or we don't feel like that we are qualified. But this is a basic book, you know. So inshallah, so now we're going to get into our actual lesson today. All right, and we're gonna have to run through it quick because we took up a lot of time. That's why I want, as we go on, he's going to probably cut down the review a little bit, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay.
All right.
No.
Okay, let me get this. That's not it. I can't never figure this thing out. Okay, that's it. All right. So no questions, right?
No.
All right. Okay, y'all can see that?
Yes.
All right. So now we'll start where we read at. We started week 13, so we read up to the current section, review from last week. So this week we talked about sawm. We read up to fasting. And fasting, the word for sawm is fasting. So here in this book, if you notice that he mentioned sawm before zakat. And so of course the 5 pillars we know is shahada, zakat, sawm, and fasting. So one of the wisdoms that the Sheikh mentioned is because this is a physical action and is more relevant to the beginning than the zakat. Because zakat is something that is not an obligation on everyone, and neither is the fast in most instances, but more than likely a beginner will be observing the fast and they will be, really calculating zakat. So that's one of the reasons why they state in the commentary that the Sheikh started with sawm over zakat, because the 5 pillars are what are the 5 pillars? Muwalla. Yeah, I said muwalla. Quickly.
Muwalla. And so in order.
Tell me the 5 pillars.
Shahada, salat, zakat, sawm, fasting, hajj.
And hajj. Okay. All right. A quick trivia question. These 5 pillars have to be done under 2 conditions. With what? This is a review. Huh?
Oh, you have to be mukallaf and you have to be Muslim and mukallaf?
No, 2 other conditions according to this book that we started off with.
Sincerity.
Yeah, I was about to say sincerity.
Ikhlas. The sincerity.
That's the only one I got.
And the other one in the heart. What is the confirmation? What's the Arabic word?
Taqwa? No.
Tasdeeq.
Tasdeeq.
Truthfulness, confirmation. All right. That was just a quick to throw you off, just keep you
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Yeah, because I want you to teach a book that when you're teaching this book, You want to be able to run it off even without reading it. You know these terms.
Mhm.
All right? But we're going to get to that at the end. But I like to throw y'all curveballs every once in a while.
Mhm.
All right. So the psalm was mentioned before the zakat, and that was one of the wisdoms. So psalm was prescribed in the second year of the hijrah, and so was zakat. There's some difference of opinion about when zakat was, but most sound traditions say that it was also established in the second year of the hijrah. So when they got to Medina, all right, so the prayer became an obligation. And just think of all the rewards that people earned when they were praying before it became an obligation. So, all right. So the Prophet ﷺ, with respect to Psalm, he fasted 9 Ramadans, and all of them were 29 days except for one. All of them were 29 days except for one. Because sometimes there's this notion that if you're fasting 29 days, like it's almost like you're not completing a whole month, And some people are under this awareness. And then it's, when we talk about the whole moon sighting wars, we'll get into that later on. But this section on Psalm, about a month and a half before Ramadan, we're going to go into more detailed fasting to get prepared for this upcoming Ramadan. But we just happen to be covering it now because it's the next section in the book. All right. So the text proof for fasting is in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 183. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Then it says, "Oh, you who believe, that fasting was prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, and so that you may learn taqwa." So some scholars said that Allah loves this particular action so much, that's why He gave it to people who came before us. So He tried them with it. They failed, and He gave it to us so that we can learn taqwa. One of the meanings of the word taqwa is to have restraint, or to build a fortress between yourself and those things that will lead to Allah's displeasure. All right, so you'll definitely need to. Well, you already probably know this ayat. You need to remember where that reference is. So if I was to ask you, where's the reference in the Quran for fasting, the obligation? All right, so he's using the book the word imsak. Imsak means to restrict or to hold back or to hold on to something. All right, so that's what the actual meaning of imsak is. So in Surah Maryam, when Maryam said that she had taken a vow and that she would not talk to anybody. All right, and when the angel came to her, you know the story, right?
Yes.
And she said that she would refrain. She used the word imsak. So in that sense, it wasn't fasting was obligatory because right after she gave birth, she shook the palm tree, the big tree, and she ate after she made that vow. So there's a technical sense, and then there's a legal meaning of fasting. So here, this is the linguistic thing of fasting mean to restrict or hold back. All right. Any questions on that?
No.
So I need you to remember that word imsak, which means restricting and holding back. The proofs, the year that fasting was made an obligation.
You're posting it on the YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this whole thing is on our page as a series. So,
all
right. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, the integrals or the arcans of the salat is first is the niyyah, and for the fard salat, for the fard fast, a niyyah has to be made the night before. And in the Shafi school, like during Ramadan, which is a fard fast, it has to be made every single night. Every single night. And some other schools, they say we do it for the whole month. But remember, we talking about school, we talking about following principles, They can go, if you forget, the night before, that you can do it during the day. And then the integral of the sawm is specifying what type of fast it is. So if it's Ramadan, your intention should be, oh Allah, I intend to fast tomorrow for this month of Ramadan. Or if it's qada, meaning a makeup fast, it should be like, oh Allah, I intend to fast this day to make up for the days I miss in Ramadan. So that's one of the arkan. All right. Then for nafil fast, which is a non-obligatory fast, the niyyah should be made in the day or the night before Fajr. And if it's after Fajr, before the time of Zawal. Zawal is the time before the sun reaches the zenith, or before Dhuhr prayer. So if you decide to make a nafil prayer, you don't have to be specific like you do for prayer. You can just decide, okay, like tomorrow is Monday. You just say, I might fast tomorrow. You don't have to say the night. You don't have to say the night before, I'm fasting Monday tomorrow. So you can just go ahead and fast and make the intention. And if you don't make it the night before, you can wake up, and as long as you don't do anything that would violate a regular fast, you can fast. All right. So for instance, what we mean by that you can't make the niyyah to fast after you've done something that breaks the fast. Like you can't wake up and and then be like, okay, you want to fast today. No, you already did something that would break a normal fast. So, but say if you got up and maybe it's a Monday, you'd be like, okay, I feel like fasting. You got up, maybe you didn't eat suhoor, but you haven't eaten anything since that time. If you make that niyyah before Dhuhr prayer, then that nafil fast is good. All right, so it doesn't have to be a specific niyyah like you would do for Ramadan, where, and of course, there's this. It's better to say it out loud, but you don't have to say it out loud. All right, is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we said imsak. What is imsak?
Withholding.
Okay.
Or holding back.
Restraining or holding back. So here, with far as the obligatory fasting or legislative fasting, is staying away from anything that will break your fast. So he mentions here food and drink. So something as small as a sesame seed or anything that enters the body cavity. For instance, like eardrops or anything that will go through your body passages that penetrates through past your throat or anything like that, this will render the fast invalid. All right. And then they also mention things that you don't normally eat as food. Like say if you ate like a date seed, that's not something you would normally eat as food, but if someone wants to swallow that, that would make the fast invalid. All right. Then also there should be an actual opening on the body cavity, meaning like if something that's over skin or anything, that doesn't qualify as an opening, like a cut, like if some water get on the cut or something like that, but it has to be like an actual opening, And then when we talk about body cavity in the Shafi school, it's considered the head and the upper torso and doesn't necessarily include the arms and the legs. And scholars differ on things like IVs, for example. So the body cavity in the stomach, if you get a needle in your stomach, that's considered the torso, then that would be something entering the body cavity. So that would make your fast invalid. There's difference about IVs and stuff like that because some scholars say that getting the IV gives you nourishment, And the Shafi school, that could ride. But an IV is not something that would penetrate something in the body cavity because they put it, they put it in your body, but it's not like through your ear, your mouth, or anything like that. So but I think we know now that mostly IVs, they do provide nourishment as far as I know. So, and this is why fiqh is geared to specifically toward the individual. Like you just can't get a ruling about something. And some people ask questions, they're like, well, what's the rule on this, that, and the other? And they saying that they're making up a hypothetical situation, but it's really their situation. If it's really their situation, they should say it. So then the person who's giving the fatwa knows how to give them the fatwa that's tailored to their situation, not in general. But how people take a fatwa and be like, yeah, well, the sheikh says such and such, so I'm doing. No, is this what happened with you? So so there's different opinions on that. Any questions on that?
Yeah,
No.
That doesn't include like medicine, like somebody that's diabetic that has to shoot themselves with a needle in the stomach.
Well, that would be considered a sickness, so they would have an excuse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they would be exempt and they would have to make the days up. All right. So then we talked about intercourse, which is called Jama'ah.
You said that if somebody's diabetic, they would have to make the fast up. But if they have to give themselves insulin every day, how would they make that up?
Oh yeah, well that's yeah. Let me clear that up. So if it's a sickness that they might be able to cure from, they will have to make the days up. But if it's an ongoing sickness that they can't, then they have to do what's called fidya. Fidya is they have to feed a person for each day that they can't fast.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna cover
I wasn't
that
being
part.
funny.
Huh?
Yeah. I said I
Say it
wasn't
again?
being funny. I wasn't being
You
funny.
were
I was
being
just trying
funny,
to.
but no, I'm just messing around. No, it's okay. No, we got to make things clear. So, yeah, this is sickness that someone is expected to recover from, then they would have to make the days up. But if it's something like ongoing, then if they still can't fast, then they have to what's called fidya. And fidya is feeding a poor person.
Mm-hmm.
And now with intercourse, when one private part penetrates the other. All right. So if that happens, that three things should happen. That person, if they engage, they should complete the day. So they shouldn't say like, okay, well then I already had intercourse, I might as well just keep going. No, complete the day. Still got to make up that day, and then they got to do what's called kafara. Everybody know what kafara is? Expert expiation. So to make things right. So the three things for kafara is. And of course, this first one doesn't really apply nowadays, but the freeing a slave, it would be the preference of be a Muslim female slave if there was someone, you would free her. 2 months fasting consecutively, and then feeding 60 poor people a mud. A mud is 4 sa'as. 4 sa'as is approximately 2 handfuls of a staple item 4 times. All right, so I think they equivalent to about it's like 2 and almost 2.5 pounds of food. All right, so that's what a mud is. It's 4 sides, and a person who breaks their fast intentionally. So intercourse would be something that would be intentionally. And of course, scholars say if there was some, there's an exception, like if someone was forced or anything like that, then it would be different. They wouldn't have to do kafara. All right, so these 3 instances would make a kafara. So you all know the hadith about when the man came to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, halaktu ya Rasulullah. He said, I'm ruined. And so the Prophet ﷺ asked him, like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you ruined? What happened? He said, I had sex with my wife, during the day. So he asked him, could he free a slave? He said, no. He said, you had to fast 2 consecutive months. He said, I can't do that. And then he said, you had to feed 60 poor people. And then he said, those poor than my family. So then he left. And so then at that time, some sadaqah had came to the Prophet ﷺ, and he told the man that, he sent for the man. He came back and he gave him that sadaqah to feed his family. So this is like an exception, because he was right there with the Prophet ﷺ. But in our time, if we were to break the fast intentionally, we had to, it's going to be one of these 2. So just stay away from things that would make you break the fast intentionally. All right, and we'll cover that in detail when we concentrate just on fasting. All right, and so according to the Shafi school, the kafara is due on the man and not the woman in the situation of intercourse. So don't talk to us about women's rights. All right.
Oh my gosh, there you go.
No, because Islam is already embedded in Islam that the woman is not liable for paying kafara. Yeah, so that's like a ni'mah, Yeah. All right, any questions on that?
No.
Okay. All right, so the next slide continue. He talked about masturbation. So masturbation, the fast is broken if a person ejaculates, whether it's self-masturbation or someone else performs it on them. If they don't ejaculate, then it's not, they don't have to there's not kafara on that. And then vomiting, the fast is broken if there was an actual vomit, like a person actually tried to make themselves vomit, but not broken if they were overcome by vomiting. Say for instance, you ate something and they didn't sit well with you, and you vomited, not because you try to make yourself vomit, but just then you wouldn't have to. That wouldn't break your fast. All right. And this is one example. It says justifiable ignorance would be an excuse, and one would not have to make up a fast. So when we talk, I said justifiable ignorance, meaning that in order for one to have a break from any kind of thing like this, they would have to be like absolutely ignorant of these things, and that's kind of almost impossible in these days and times. There would be no reason for one to not know that they can't self-vomit. There will be no reason for one to not know that masturbation breaks your fast and stuff like that. There was another one on the other slide real quick that they talked about like smoke. All right. So like I've heard people say like incense smoke and the like that will break your fast, not if you just around smoke, but if you were like inhaling it like deliberately, that will break your fast. So and subsequently smoking, some people get over it because they're saying that smoking is not anything that nourishes you, but it is something that penetrates through your mouth. So we shouldn't be smoking anyway, but that's just a ruling for people who might be afflicted with it. All right, any questions on that?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, the next one, he talked about the perfection of the fast. Go ahead, say it again. You said something?
No.
Wait a minute. You said something? Are you good? All right. So the perfection of the fast.
No.
So here, I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, I thought you were going to say something. You good? Y'all good, right?
It's my daughter is coming through.
Okay, now
so it sounds like yes.
Okay, all right. I can hear you just in and out. All right. So here, the perfection of the fast. It says that legal validity and divine acceptance are two different things. So here, when he talked about that, he talked about the things that nullify the fast. So the perfection of the fast is keeping your limbs from anything that Allah dislikes. So we already talked about the things that that will break the fast, like intercourse, food and drink, masturbation, and vomiting. Doing these things deliberately will break your fast. So now he's talking about the things where it would avoid divine acceptance of the fast. So, for instance, you lose the value of your fast if you do some of these things that, even though legally you covered what you're supposed to do, but if you do these things that we're going to talk about now, your fast loses its. It might not be accepted in the divine sense. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. Yes. But there's a hadith that fasting is a shield. And I put these ... That's ellipses. Something's supposed to come after that. Who knows a hadith that can complete that? That fasting is a shield. Anybody familiar with a hadith about that fasting is a shield?
No.
All right. So there's a hadith about
I know you fast. It's a
that you avoid certain things like intercourse, arguing, and if someone comes to you and they try to argue or provoke you, what should you say?
I'm fasting.
Yes.
I'm fasting.
Innani sawm. I am fasting. I am fasting. All right. So that's one hadith. Another hadith, whoever doesn't give up lying, whoever doesn't give up lying and false speech and doing it, working by that line. Anybody know the continuation of the hadith? This is just a little trivia question. See where you guys at.
It's I mean, I don't know it verbatim, but is it like start it off again?
Whoever doesn't give up lying and false speech and doing the actions by it, then what?
Then Allah doesn't need your fasting or something like that.
He is not in need of your food, of you leaving off food and drink. Yes. Okay. Good. So there's a hadith that says that whoever doesn't give up lying and false speech and these things that will compromise the divine acceptance of the fast, then Allah is not in need of you giving up food or drink. That doesn't mean you don't cover the legal aspect of the fast, right? So that doesn't mean, okay, if a person is backbiting, lying, slander, that don't mean that they don't observe the legal parts of the fast. Like, since I'm doing this, I'm not going to abstain from food and drink, and no, you still got to do that part, and you need to cover this inner aspect and really concentrate on that, because that's where the fruit of the fast is. Because as you all know, it gets easier as far as avoiding food and drink and intimacy. That's the easy part, but really, doing the other things and protecting your limbs from anything that Islam dislikes, that Allah dislikes. Excuse me. All right. So then he mentioned in the book about the 7 limbs. And he said that there's going to be discussed in it later. So when we get about the matters of the heart and the third part of the three sciences that this book is based on, what are they? 3 categories. This book talks about blank, blank, and blank.
Iman, Islam, Iman, Ihsan.
Yeah, Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. All right. So he's going to talk about the 7 limbs in detail. We'll get to the category of Ihsan, which deals with the heart and, purification of the soul. All right. So the 7 limbs he mentions is the tongue, the ears, the eyes, the hands, the feet, the stomach, and the private parts. These are the ones that we have to concentrate on when we're fasting to safeguard them. Watch our tongue, watch what we listen to, watch what we're looking at, what our hands are touching, haram, stuff like that. What our feet are taking us to, what we're taking in our stomach, and also the private parts, which means avoiding intercourse to begin with. All right. And so in the last part of this book was going to be a really great section, because this book is as a basic format to start you off with the worship, belief worship, and then the other part is how to deal with yourself. All right. So the 7 limbs. All right, here I was trying to do something with the animation, but it didn't work out right. So this is supposed to go last, but it's going to be last. So I put this quote again: legal validity and divine acceptance are 2 different things. So now he's going to talk about the nullifiers of the fast. So here he doesn't mean nullify makes your fast invalid, but we're talking about the legal validity and divine acceptance. They're 2 different things. This is about the fast possibly Allah not being pleased with the fast, and we always under the banner that Allah might not accept our good deeds, because they may not be sincere, they might be haphazard, we might have been lazy doing them, we might have negligence in doing them, and so knowing that's a possibility, it should give us an urgency, All right. So the nullifiers that he mentions is al-kadhib, lying. Then the other one is ghibah. Lying is kind of self-explanatory. There's a hadith. Anybody know about hadith about lying that you could think of?
Is it one where, like if you lie, like the angels go away from you?
That could be. That's not what I was looking for though. But I'm not. That was a good guess. All right. I don't want you to feel like, oh man, I failed. No. There's a hadith that says, the righteousness leads to truth, and truth. I mean, beer leads to righteousness, and then a person will continue to be truthful until they're recorded as a righteous person. Then it says that lying leads to wickedness, and wickedness leads to the hellfire. And the person will continue to lie until they record it as that hadith. So that's a homework assignment for next week. See if you can find that hadith. And in this age of Google and Siri, I don't think that would be too difficult. All right. All right. So then we talked about Giba. Giba is saying something about a person that the person wouldn't like, which is true or false. So Giba is backbiting, and we know some of this is the major sin, actually. All right. Namima is related something that someone said to another person to cause problems. You know, so you can't be like what's the lady? Y'all used to watch The Living Color. I remember the Wayne's sister, she was the mom, she was something, and she used to talk about everybody.
Yeah.
Don't nobody say nothing bad about Miss Jenkins.
Yeah.
I love me some Miss Jenkins. Then she ended up talking about Miss Jenkins. But one of her lines is like, but you ain't heard it from me. You know. Or nowadays what's so horrible is that people are making millions of dollars and doing these things that we may possibly burn in hell for. You know, people are making a living off Namima. And look at look at Wendy Williams. Y'all see how she looked lately? That might be a curse from Allah. Her whole career was about slandering, Namima, tail carrying to cause fitna, causing harm to people's reputations to get your ratings up. And now that might be, Allah knows best, but we already know the harm to this stuff, and she might not even be aware of the harms and it's already affecting her, So Namima is saying something, well, such and such, that kind of stuff that people like to do. What's the name? You know what he said, right? Or she said, child, you can't believe what's the name said. What? She said, what? And y'all know the kind of language that comes after that. It's not nice. Then, somebody start fighting, somebody get hurt. And some of this stuff is happening with these people who have no idea what this stuff is, people not communicating, people not contextualizing, all that kind of stuff. Namima, is that relating something to tell carrier? There's a hadith that it says the one who is the namam, the one who is a namam will not enter Jannah. Namam means someone who constantly does it, who does namima like all the time. Always talking about something or somebody. And it says if somebody is talking to you about somebody, sooner or later they'll be talking to somebody about you. Then the other one is Yaminu Kadiba. And that means he mentions in the book, and that means swearing about something that happened in the past is not true, or swearing that something didn't happen in the past, but it did. All right, so that's what Yaminu Kadiba. So it's like taking an oath. And, nowadays there's different, people say on God, or on my kids, I swear this, that, and they might be lying. This is very harmful. And we've heard Muslims say this, wallahi. And and they be lying. This is very harmful. And then he talked about another be shahwa, looking at something impermissible with the desire. So these are the things that will nullify the fast, but it doesn't relieve one of the obligation of the legislated part of the fast. All right. So if a person is doing these things during Ramadan, it lessens the value of the fast, but they're not exempt from fasting just because they might be caught up in this. So no one can say, okay, they looked at something haram, or I might as well eat now. No, don't let shaitan get us like that. If you told a lie, you just ask Allah to forgive you, but you don't. Okay, well, I've lied, so what's the purpose of eating? Don't use that simple logic. I was gonna say another word, but we're recording this kind of stuff. All right. Any questions on that? Any questions on that? No. Okay. See, I try to do some at the end where it's supposed to be like bold and flash, but yeah, don't worry about all that. All right. So then the next thing we talk about the perfection. We did the tamam of the sawm, the continued perfection is when you're breaking the fast, make sure that it's with halal food. And of course, this is something you would think is obvious. And it says food that you are sure about. So you shouldn't really ask if someone is halal. You should assume that it is. But if you have doubt that it might not have come from halal sources, you should just stay away from it and spare the person of the embarrassment. Even Muslims ask them if it's halal. If it seems like it's unsure, like, say you see somebody, they be like, yeah, it's halal. And then you see a little sticker that said they bought it at, it's Tice's Chicken. And that's not halal. So just don't eat it, just don't eat it, You try not to embarrass the people. And then maybe, and if that was a situation that would occur, like, listen, we should try to eat halal as Muslims and stuff like that. Because there are some people who still think that, that kind of meat is the meat of Jews and Christians. And that's not it. All right. So breaking her fast with halal food that you are sure about. And if you're just not sure, just don't eat it, but you should, you should assume. All right. And then one of the perfections of the tamam of the sawm is not eating a great deal of either or at the suhoor or the iftar. And you all know how Ramadan can get, people who have this logic where I'm just going to fill up, And of course, nowadays we have options, you can, of course, the best thing is to eat dates. But if you can eat something that will keep you full during the day, it's good, but just don't overdo it. And of course, at iftar, this is every year, people act like they just didn't fast 12, 13, 14 hours and act like they never ate in their life. So now the iftar, and you come to the masjid. Well, what now? They're looking for a five-star meal. Nobody gave no money. Nobody offered to cook nothing, and then all the blame is on the imam. Oh, I tell you, man, our people. So then fasting regularly makes the fast during Ramadan very easy. Fasting regularly. That's part of perfection of the obligatory fast. And then he ends off the book, the recommended fast. And these are some Mondays and Thursdays, the day of Arafat, which is the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah, and the first 8 days of Dhul Hijjah. So that includes the first 9 days. Now, the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah are the most beloved days to Allah. And the last 10 nights of Ramadan are the most beloved nights to Allah. You all knew that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So on the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, it is recommended, if you're not on Hajj, to fast those first 8 days or 9 days. And the 9th day will be day of Arafat. So that's a day of distinction. So if you don't fast the first 9 days, at least fast that day. All right, of Dhul Hijjah. The 9th and 10th of Muharram. Here, the 10th of Muharram is the Yom al-Ashura, as a fast, that's a sunnah fast. The Prophet ﷺ used to fast that fast, and then the year before he passed, he said he was going to do the 9th and 10th to be different from the Yahud, because the day of Ashura has some significance with them. Anybody know what that day is for them?
No.
Okay, that's a homework assignment. The significance of Yom al-Ashura for the Yahud. Because remember, we said in the beginning that Allah prescribed fasting for them, even though it's a sunnah fast. They had a prescription to have a voluntary fast before us. The 6 days of Shawwal, everybody knows the reward of that. Or maybe you guys, I'll tell you what, we'll just go over these and you guys give me the ajr, the rewards of these days. If you know them, you can say them now. The 6 days of Shawwal, what are the rewards for fasting the 6 days of Shawwal?
It's like your sins are forgiven for the previous year and the coming year.
No, not for 6 days of Shawwal. There's something else specifically.
Oh. It's like you fasted for a whole year.
Yes, that's it. Okay. All right. The
I'm
10th, the 10th
delayed,
of
so I don't.
huh? Say it again.
I said I'm delayed. I have a delay. I said I have a delay. I don't know why, but I have a delay.
It has something to do with your mental, I think.
I'm talking about my computer exam.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something like, 6 days of Shawwal. Then the Ayamul Bid. So everybody know what the Ayamul Bid is, the 13th, 14th, and 15th of each lunar month. So we're talking about the Islamic months. All right. So what is another name for Ayamul Bid? Yeah, that's it. The white days. That's known as the white days of each month. So we should try to fast. So these are the recommended fasts that we should do throughout the year. And yeah, that's it. Okay. Stop sharing. All right. So any questions?
No.
Any comments? Any concerns? How was the class? It was okay?
Yes, it was okay. I just better get the
Very good.
reading and studying.
Yeah. So basically, just kind of review. I mean, this will be up on our YouTube page to review this class. And I would just suggest, maybe before you come to class, read through the text. Because we're going to be reading through the text. We're going to cover the part that we at. So we did Psalm today, and then we'll do Zakat next week. We'll do a brief review of the Psalm, if any, because I want to really try to concentrate on getting through the book.
Okay.
But we'll get through the book, discuss each section as we go. Then we'll go through a whole thing of the book. Each section we'll do, review. We'll highlight what we need to know. I'll quiz you so you know what to know, what to expect. And then at the end, we'll break down to a couple quizzes.
Okay.
We'll do a few tests. All right. So the format is basically anybody can come in at any time in this class because this is a simple test. This is the first book and the curriculum that they use. So the next one, no, I'm not going to give you the next one because then y'all going to try to go get it and try to be ahead of the game. You're not going to be ahead of the game. You'll be right here. All right. So if there's no questions, inshallah, we'll conclude there. How's everybody week been? Good?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, may
Yes,
Allah make this upcoming week very better than the last and make our days bright, inshallah. Forgive us for our shortcomings and our sins and our misgivings, and may He accept this effort from us and make it sincere for His sake. Ameen. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum.
Well, salam.